That's great. Is Don, Don's on the remote.
Didn't work. Just call.
Okay.
I'm impressed that nobody, scaffing.
Mhm.
Call the meeting to order. Stand for pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to open the second part of the public hearing for the amendment of the local zoning law. Actually, it is. The FJ will take over now.
Hello and greetings, members of the town board. It's nice to see you all. So you should have in front of you the part 2 EAF and the part 3 EAF. I just briefly go over, what's in front of you in the part 2. If you remember, the part 1 EAF includes kind of all the information about the proposed action, and it spells out what any impacts are. Remember on the part 1, or this map changes are what we call general or area-wide impacts. So there's no specific construction project or any development is being proposed by these zoning map changes. But we did do a little build out to look at the potential impacts that could come with the zoning map changes. And I believe we ended up projecting about 15 or 16 new housing units, which we think would have de minimis impacts on school children, the number of school children, traffic, and other transportation issues. And that's over a 10-year period. So we took that EAF, and the part 2 form, which is the one you have in front of you, helps us decide, are any of these impacts moderate or large? And so you go through the different pages and it asks you questions. Will there be any impact? And if so, are they small or are they moderate or large? We think the only places where there would be an impact is an impact on land, because development could happen, but we don't think these are big impacts. We think they're small. And in most places, we don't see any impact at all. And because of that, we think that because there are no impacts or no large impacts, we think you can use the part 3 EAF. So that's kind of the end of part 2. And part 3 is whether you can make a negative declaration under seeker on the actions. And so part 3 is kind of that negative declaration document. And it's got the first page has a quick, a quick introduction to what the action is, and then explains that because in part 2, we did not find any moderate or large impacts on the environment, we feel comfortable saying that this action would have a negative, or can be a negative declaration, a neg deck under seeker. And that's on the second page, page 2 of the part 3. That's just a quick rundown of what you have in front of you. You have and how they interact. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything.
Anybody here, public, have questions about it?
My question would be, when is this all public access for the meeting?
Oh, this is we had a few zoning changes, so we had to keep it open for a month to field any questions. If any questions came in, we had to address them. This is last chance for public to address any issues.
But the document we're looking at right now, that's public access.
Should be, yes. This is public access, right, Joey?
Yeah. Made public.
Yeah. Yes. I'll make a motion. If no questions, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yep, thank you. And so I think
Hang on, hold on, Warren has a question.
One question, so I prepared a resolution adopting the local law, we prepared to do that tonight?
So,
I'm prepared to do
Yeah.
that.
So, once we do this, we do have to, as part of the local law, the BFJ has provided smaller versions of the maps showing the changes in the districts. However, now, once we adopt this, we're gonna have to amend the townwide zoning map. So I don't remember if we discussed that. Was that something that BFJ was gonna do, or we're gonna have county, Dutchess County Planning do that? They can supply that service. We'll need to incorporate these changes into the townwide zoning map that's attached to our zoning code is, I think, Schedule 5. So I'll talk to you about it. We can decide what to do from there. Usually we have county planning take care of that. But if not, we may have to have you do that.
I suggest that we have the county do it if we can.
Yeah, if they're willing to do it. So
Okay,
what I'll do
that's,
is
that's the first inquiry.
I'll contact county planning.
Great.
And we have to get them to do that, and then we will have to go through a local law adopting then the townwide change to our zoning
Okay.
map. But we're prepared to go ahead and
Yes.
pass this resolution tonight, which incorporates a negative declaration under seeker after reviewing the part 3.
Good. You want to do that later on, or do you want to do that now?
I think we can do it now.
Okay, sure.
You know,
do you want to read it, or is it just a roll call?
why don't we, town clerk, Mike, do you have that? You want,
I have it. Do you want me to read it?
you don't mind. I have-
Okay. The town board of the town of Pine Plains, resolution adopting local law number A of the year 2022 entitled a local law amending the boundaries of certain town of Pine Plains zoning district as established by Article 6 of the town of Pine Plains Town Code and the town of Pine Plains zoning map precision to town law 275-5 of the town code and amendment of other portions of the town code. Whereas the town of Pine Plains zoning law was adopted by local law number 2 of 2009 in October of 2009. The local law has been amended in certain respects pursuant to local law 2 of 2015, local law number 3 of 2015, and local law number 1 of 2017. And whereas the local law has now been codified as chapter 275 of town code, and whereas the town board recently adopted an amendment to its comprehensive plan and appointed a zoning review committee to work with BFJ planning to adopt a series of targeted text changes to the town's zoning code to address issues which have been identified as requiring amendment, correction, or change since the zoning code was created in 2009. And whereas the town board recently, pursuant to law number 1 of the year 2021, adopted certain text changes to the town zoning code pursuant to the recommendations of the zoning review committee. And whereas the zoning review committee also recommended certain proposed changes to the zoning district and zoning district map, which included remapping a portion of the Hamlet residential district to the Hamlet Center residential district, slightly expanding the Hamlet business district to creating a light industrial district, and a small expansion of the Hamlet Main Street district to include portions of 2 parcels to better reflect their existing uses. And whereas the attorney to the town has prepared a proposed local law amending the boundaries of certain of the town's zoning districts and certain portions of chapter 275-5 of the town code and other sections of the code relating to zoning. And whereas the town board has determined that this type action requiring the preparation of the full environmental assessment form, and further that the town board is the only involved agency in this action. And whereas BFJ Planning has prepared a part 1 of a full environmental assessment form in conjunction with this local law, and the same has been reviewed by the attorney to the town and by the town board and has determined to be acceptable in a form and content. And whereas the town board reviewed the proposed local law and found it to be acceptable in form and content for purposes of commencing the local law adoption process. And whereas the town board has determined that adoption of this said proposed local law would be in the best interest of the community and the residents of the town of Pine Plains.
Were you missing the second page to the resolution?
Woo! I only have these.
You don't have, I can do it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I only have that one.
Okay, so I'll continue. My voice holds out. Whereas the town board declared itself to be lead agency for the purposes of the environmental review of this local law. And whereas the town board accepted part 1 of the full environmental assessment form as prepared by BFJ Planning. And whereas the town board scheduled a public hearing on the adoption of said local law on February 17th, 2022, commencing at 6 p.m. at the town of Pine Community Center. At the address. And whereas the town clerk duly published and posted notice of said public hearing and provide notice to adjoining municipalities as required by law, the proposed public hearing and mailed notices of said public hearing be a first class mail to all property owners whose property will be affected by these changes in the code. And whereas the town board directed the town clerk to forward a copy of the proposed law together with part 1 of the full environmental assessment form, Dutchess County Planning and Development for its review and comment in accordance with the requirements of section 239M of the general municipal law. And whereas the town board directed the town clerk to forward a copy of the said proposed local law together with part 1 of the full environmental assessment form to the Pine Plains Planning Board for its review and comment in accordance with the requirements of the town code. And whereas a copy of the proposed local law together with part 1 of the EAF was made available for public inspection at the town clerk's office during regular business hours and was also posted on the town's official website, on the town's notice board, and at the Pine Plains Library for inspection and review by members of the public. And whereas a public hearing on said local law was duly opened on February 17th, 2022, at which time members of the public and the town board members were provided with an opportunity to comment on said local law, and the public hearing was closed. I thought we closed it on that date. Did we keep it open until today?
We kept it open.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we say, the public hearing was adjourned to March 17th. I'm sorry, February, March 17th.
Mhm.
2022, and was closed on that same date. So I'll give you an amendment. And whereas Dutchess County Planning and Development responded to the 239M referral by indicating that this is a matter of local concern with no comment, which meant that they had no problems with the passage of the law. And whereas the planning board has provided a letter to the town board indicating its approval of the proposed law and recommending adoption of the same by the town board. And whereas the town board at a regular meeting held on March 17th at 2022 at 7 p.m. with the assistance of its planning consultants, BFJ Planning, reviewed part 2 of the environmental assessment form and determined that the proposed action did not have the potential for substantial environmental impacts and that a draft environmental impact statement need not be prepared. And whereas, did you review part 3 or just the part 2? We did
3.
3. So I'll change that to part 2 and 3. And whereas the town board has determined that the adoption of the proposed local law would be in the best interest of the community and the residents of the town of Pine Plains, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby adopts local law number, what local law would this be? We have to just number them in sequence as we pass them.
Okay.
So you
This
can
would be
fill
our,
that in.
okay.
Of the year 2022 entitled, I'm not going to repeat the title of the local law. And be it further, the town clerk is hereby directed to publish notice of the negative secret declaration in the DEC environmental notice bulletin as required by secret rules and regulations. And be it further resolved that a copy of said local law shall be forwarded to the Dutchess County Department of Planning. And be it further resolved that the town planning consultant shall hereinafter take the necessary steps to prepare an amended zoning map for inclusion in the town zoning code as attachment number 5. So why don't we change that to the town planning consultants and attorney to the town, because I'll be taking care of that hopefully with Dutchess County Planning instead of BFJ. And be it further resolved that the town clerk shall file a copy of said law with the Department of State as required by law. And the question of the foregoing resolution was duly put to a roll call. So we have to have somebody
Can I get a motion?
make a motion.
Make the motion with Lauren's amendments that we pass this.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
We need to-
Good. Roll call.
Roll call.
Supervisor Walsh,
Aye.
Councilman Ambrose,
Aye.
Councilman Bartles,
Aye.
Councilwoman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Zick.
Aye.
Okay, we did it. So we'll take care of that. I'll give you some guidance on what we need to do.
Okay.
In terms of a couple of things that we need to do. And I'll contact Dutchess County Planning and see if they'll contract with us to, I don't know if they'll charge us or not. Let's do the math. If not, we'll figure out another way. Well done with that.
Thank you for being to BFJ.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Lauren, they gave us like a map. Can we just submit that to the county?
Pardon?
Like they gave us a map. Can we just?
Yeah,
submit
that map was the zoning changes, and that's part of the local law. But now there's an attachment to our zoning code. If you look at attachment 5, which is a map of all of the zoning
whole
districts in
town.
one map. So now that we've adopted this, we have to incorporate that in that,
Okay.
and then adopt the full map. So but first we have to have it prepared. I'm sure we can get it done by county plan.
All right, now we'll open the public hearing in regards to the amendment of the local water law. Ray, do you want to touch?
Yeah,
On
I'll
this?
touch base on that. Yeah, absolutely. So the amendment to the local law for the water district, there are actually two components. The first has to do with the way the billing is currently done. So currently bills are sent to tenants as well as a copy to the owners, which has been problematic for us from a billing standpoint. So the amendment makes it so bills will be sent only to the owner, and we will leave it up to the owner to then distribute it to their tenant if they so choose. But again, ultimately, all bills and balances are the responsibility of the property owner. So again, bills will be going only to the owner. The second amendment is to change the timing of the re-levy process, so that way it's in line with Dutchess County. So again, when past due balances are re-levied to the county, prior, it identified that the re-levy would take place in January, but in actuality, it doesn't take place at the county level until November. So we just change the timing so that way it's in line with what takes place with Dutchess County. So those are the two changes and amendments.
Any questions from public, concerns?
Right, so if you're a tenant, you can't put your name is not on the water bill, it has to be the property owner?
That's correct. Currently, you can. We are
Right.
changing that so it goes entirely to the owner.
And, okay, all right.
Because ultimately, it is the owner that is responsible for any bills and any charges. And we were running into issues when tenants were leaving. The tenant was indicating that they were unaware that there was a past due balance due, and they were
But they get the bill,
under,
the
correct,
tenant gets the bill.
as well as the owner. And the owner didn't know that the tenant wasn't paying, and then they would leave, and then they would be angry with the water department that we didn't notify them that there was a past due balance before the people left. Like we would know when people were leaving and moving out. So that's why we want to get out of that practice and simply put it to the property owners. They are responsible to deal with their tenants.
Any other questions, concerns?
Do we need to keep it open for a certain amount of time, or can I make a motion to close the public hearing on the water? Or do we need to accept those changes?
We can close the public hearing, correct? Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this is rather simple. I prepared, I'm not even gonna read it. I can only read one resolution a night. So I have a resolution that I provided for you that adopting this local law. So just need a motion.
Can I get a motion to accept this resolution?
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution.
Can I get a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye,
Roll call.
roll call.
Supervisor Walsh.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrose.
Aye.
Councilman Bartles.
Aye.
Councilwoman Jones.
Aye,
Councilman Zick.
Aye.
Okay, we're all set on that one.
Approval of minutes and town clerk's report.
I have the approval of the February town clerk's report and the acceptance of the February 17th public hearing and town board minutes.
I move that we accept those minutes and that report.
Can I get
Second that.
a, all in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the bills.
I have approval of general bills number 19134 through 19168. Highway bills number 19169 through 19186. And water department bills number 3105 through 3108.
Can I get a motion on these bills?
I move that we accept that we agree to pay those bills.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Supervisor's statement. Thank you, everyone watching on TV and everyone in attendance. I want to touch on the COVID topic for a minute. I know everyone is tired of hearing about it, but I feel this is important. It's been over 2 years since our first case, and we can now sit here and say we are in a low transmit area. I want to thank all our essential workers, nurses, first responders, doctors, for all your hard work during this hard time. I'd like to also thank the Pine Plains Pharmacy and its staff for the endless hours of testing and vaccinations for our townspeople and outside surrounding towns, and all the volunteers that made this happen. It has not been easy, but Pine Plains as a whole has once again stepped up to the challenges, has made it through it. There is nothing that we can't do. Last, I would like to send my condolences to all the families that have lost a family member, a friend, or a community member during this pandemic. Thank you to our beautiful community of Pine Plains. Public comment.
I have a question, well, three questions actually. One is, could the agenda be posted on the website before the meetings? Is that possible?
It was posted on the website today.
Okay, I looked today and I saw the one for February 17th.
No, the new one was up there.
Okay,
It changed once, but it was up there.
okay, and then at the first meeting in January, the gentleman asked about whether there would be letters from the supervisor, and you said there would be, and I understand that it might be difficult to get that into place, but even if it's once a month, for those of us who aren't on social media, it would really make a difference to have something in an email that would be informing us about what's happening in town
Okay,
that month, if not that week.
okay.
And the third thing is, I was wondering if it had been discussed or decided how the American Rescue Funds would be used for Pine Plains. Because I know they have to be used or returned.
Correct. There's preliminary discussions in regards to it. We really haven't gotten deep into it yet. We've received half of our money. We haven't received the second half yet.
Okay.
I believe we're supposed to receive that middle of this year.
And will we be informed about those discussions?
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, great, thank you.
Anybody else?
I had a random here.
Yep. Go ahead. Just state your name when you.
Sure.
Yeah, name and I
Please.
was just gonna say, name and address should be stated for public comments.
My name is Roy Chase. I live in the Towns Hamlet Center, across from Peck Market. How y'all doing today? I wanted to come in and say hello and maybe restart a public conversation and see where the town board might stand on some, what I see as positive initiatives that the town has been working on for the last few years. not that we need to talk about it tonight, but it'd be nice to hear directionally rather than substantively where you guys are headed on some of these things, but I suppose I see it as unfortunate maybe that in the previous years, a few of the big endeavors the town has undertaken, that work didn't coincide with committee formations and committee work, the type of things that might see some institutional knowledge being generated, sort of, or some platforms on which those initiatives could be continued in the absence of an executive. I guess in the previous administration, the executive was in charge of a lot of them. But one of the big ones is thinking about our town's grant writing program, which I understand a number of other towns do have. Over the last few years, we've been pretty successful in getting a number of grants. And we could talk about them here, but I don't know if that's necessary. But broadly speaking, the grants writing does seem like an effective way for the town to be able to achieve some of the goals it might have that it doesn't want to put on to the levy somehow. Those committees might be responsible for researching grant opportunities, sort of understanding the federal, state, and not-for-profit grants landscape to really know what's out there and how the community might be able to interact with it. And my sense is maybe that work could be done in concert with or passed off to a grants writer, a professional, and I'm spitballing here, but at a cost maybe of $10,000 a year or something to help actually follow through with those proposals that the committee brings to them. With that in mind, I think it's worth mentioning in November of last year, we did have a big public hearing here in town at the community center that was a presentation of work our consultants, Ty and Bond, had done on a sewer feasibility study for the town of Pine Plains, which was largely meant to service the area we think of as our town center, the commercial district. Though at that meeting, there seemed to be quite a bit of interest also from the Hamlet Center Residential District and people perhaps wanting to be a part of this nascent sewer district. This work of hiring those consultants was supported and executed by grant writing and grants monies, and was implemented without a cost to the town. And it seems that the path that our consultants laid out in November was sort of clear that at no cost, at that point, we'd overcome some procedural hurdles, which is the big challenge of those grants writings, to have the right documents and the right studies in the right place. We'd overcome some procedural hurdles, and we're now in a position to actually begin the process of actually writing grants that might help implement that study. And from what they suggested at that meeting, much of the cost of this thing that they're talking about perhaps could be covered by the writing of grants, which seems like a really great opportunity for the town, in that the implementation of a center sewer district would dramatically increase the residential and commercial capacity for our downtown, which are the places that, according to our comprehensive plan, we hope to see growth and development happen most of all. So that's two big things there that sort of tie into each other, this notion of grant writing and creating a culture collectively that we know how to interact with that landscape and maintain the procedural things we need to do to stay in good standing to maybe get significant amounts of money. And the second thing, which is this sewer district formation, which I know the board might be very useful in helping to facilitate, though the town writ large would not be responsible for the cost of somehow. It's a very small district that I think at the presentation could represent 25 to 50 parcels perhaps in its first incarnation, but certainly that stuff centered around our downtown. I think in that same breath, as I mentioned, grant funding, and as you guys are mulling over what will happen with these ARPA monies, perhaps you're considering encumbering funds for the purposes of some of these large community endeavors that have come before the town recently. And as I mentioned in committees, that maybe it's useful also to consider creating a committee to help interact with the public and get feedback on what it might look like and what its purposes might be and what other needs it might fulfill. And that thing is a new town hall, which I know has been a discussion in town. It's a lot to ask just the town board or new supervisor to like figure this out on their own. And it seems like these big things might deserve committees that can help the community work through them. And I mentioned that too, because I think grant writing might be a component of what we do with our new town hall. And historically, Pine Plains has been a thrifty community, and we pride ourselves, rightly so, on running tight budgets and not overspending. But on this one town hall notion, I do think, I'd love to be a voice early on to say, I hope it's an endeavor that our community, if we do it, will be proud of and fits our needs and fits the stature of the neighborhood. I don't think we should overspend. I think we should figure out what we need to spend and then consider reaching out to the community to make up the difference in whatever it might cost, perhaps, to get the town hall we think we might deserve, but not quite be able to afford out the gate. But I encourage everyone to be open to the design process. A lot of good things can come out of the dialogue and those discussions. So that's a very long public comment that touches on grants writing and the uses of a few different grants and big projects like the town hall. But I'd love to know where the town board standing, again, not substantively, but directionally surrounding some of those issues. If you think it might be a good idea, I'd love to see you all form some committees to do some of that work.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, so I've emailed a couple of times about this and I haven't gotten a
Just
response.
state your name.
Curie Hannon, I live on Hammertown Road.
Okay.
So as everyone knows, Hammertown Road is basically on 199. And I think that the speed limit there is way too high. It's 55, it's 45 on the other side of Pine Plains. The road is really windy all the way to Winchell Mountain Road. You can't really go 55 safely anyway. But what happens is as you come down by Town Hall and you're coming down the hill, it comes into a straightaway. So all the trucks go as fast as they can down the straightaway, and then as fast as they can go up the hill. So one of the challenges is that my daughter gets off the school bus there. She's almost been hit twice, once by a low-nam farm truck and once by some jerk in a big pickup truck who didn't want to stop for the school bus and went around it, almost hit all of us. I've asked for the school bus stop to be moved. They won't move the stop. We need to get the speed limit down because it's dangerous and it's loud. Everyone goes well above 55 miles per hour on that road. They're going at least 65. I watch them all day long. My house is right there. And then additionally, I think that we should look into lowering the speed limit in town. If you want the town to be a hub for the community and you want to develop more residential homes and you want to increase business, people shouldn't be going through town at 40 miles an hour, which is what they're doing at 35. So that's my 2 cents.
Can I just respond a little bit to that? I have talked to the police department about your comments, especially about the idea of the speeding in excess of the 55 anyhow. And I've also asked that they have an officer try to be out there during school bus time just to see what is going on, to try to get a sense of that area. And to the best of my knowledge, they will be doing that shortly. Also, the school buses now are equipped with cameras that are recording people who are in violation of the stopped school bus laws. So I've asked some questions, some research into that. And the third thing is we don't have any control over our speed limits. It's strictly a state function. And they would have to approve anything that we requested. And I very seriously doubt that they would entertain reducing the speed limit there. I noticed that in your comments, you had said that they were exceeding the existing speed limit, and it's the state's take on it, or the traffic safety board's take on that is usually that the 85th percentile is the appropriate speed for that road. So what they do is speed studies, and they look and try out of 100 drivers, what is that 85th driver doing? And I have a feeling they're driving appropriately, and we just have some aberrant kind of drivers. So hopefully our police department can help with the situation.
Okay, I just don't understand why it's 45 on one side of Main Street and it's 55 on the other when the road is just as windy. I understand that it's a state road. I get the challenge of that, but you can petition the state to change the speed limit. I looked into it. Red Hook has a form on their website that you can do it. So, and the police are not ever there. They're never there. I spoke to a police officer when he pulled me over for not having my car registered. And I said, why aren't you, out in front of town hall pulling over people who are going above the speed limit? And he said they are there, but they're not. I've never seen them there. I mean, I work from home. I'm out there all the time. So I think it's really a shame that, great. So there are cameras in the school bus. That's great. So I can see a videotape of my daughter getting killed. I mean, hopefully that will help, but I just don't think it will. I think we need to, try and figure out how to lower the speed limit as opposed to just saying like, it's not going to happen. There are steps that you can go through, and I would appreciate it if those steps were at least initiated.
Do you have anything else, Don?
She says it's.
Not at this point, no.
Oh, I have one more thing, which is that I don't see on the agenda the approval of the new library board member, and I'm hoping that we can get that added to the agenda before the end of the evening.
I never received anything from the library in regards to this.
Sarah,
I think the library has submitted his name more than once.
correct.
I never got anything.
Ethan DiMaria, I believe is his name.
I got an interest letter, but I never got an acceptance letter.
Well, no, from the library. This is from the library
Correct.
asking that we
Yeah,
pass
I
on.
I've never received anything in
Well,
the email.
I think something was sent. Certainly it was reported at the board meeting that a second reference was sent because that name was sent earlier and we didn't act on it.
I didn't,
This is the second time.
the only thing that I received was his showing his interest. I've never received that he was approved by the library board.
Well,
We can add it to the agenda. You can pass it.
I think we should do that.
I
think
don't
we
have a
should.
problem with that.
Yeah.
But I've just never
I would
received
ask that
it.
we add that to the agenda and act on it tonight.
Okay. Any other public comment?
I have a report of something that was reported to me, which has to do with the scheduling of the community center and the intervals between scheduled events. And apparently it now is an hour between scheduled events. And it didn't used to be that way. So I don't know how that happened, but that center is so valuable to the community. And there are so many groups who like using it that I think we should look at that if it's been changed. And I don't know why it was changed.
You're saying there's an hour gap, maybe like.
Apparently, that's what was reported to me. So that was a response. I mean, that was somebody who came to me and asked me about that and why that was the case. And I said I would raise it.
The other issue with the scheduling of the community space is that there's not a central place for the library to see what's already been booked, I think. And so there was something that got double booked recently. So the library is hoping that there can be a calendar that can be accessed by the library so that both the town and the library can schedule the meeting room appropriately with as Sarah mentioned, that's correct.
Well, I would think that the library would just have to call the secretary.
That is
right?
correct. The library has to book their stuff through the secretary's office
Okay.
because it's
I'm
technically,
not sure that happened, that's what happened, but I wasn't the one who was doing it. So.
yeah, which anything the library wants to book it for, just contact the secretary's office. She'll look through the calendar and see if there's anything booked and then she can line that right up. Anybody else? Town attorney.
Just have a couple of things. We do have to, in resolution, I think I sent it on to you to approve a contract with Ackerley and Hubble appraisal work. We have a problematic tax surcharge proceeding that we discovered or determined that we need the assistance of an appraiser to do a preliminary appraisal for us in our negotiations to see if the case can be settled. And if not, we'll have to go to a trial and we're gonna need a court-ready appraisal at some future date. So I do have a contract which I supplied to our town clerk. And gave you a short resolution approving that contract. And if I can just get it signed and sent back to me, pass the resolution, get it back to me, I'll send it on to them. They are actually working on the appraisal now, and they did a site visit the other day.
Roll call. Roll call. I'll make a motion that we accept the contract.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Supervisor Walsh,
Yay.
Councilman Ambrose,
Aye.
Councilman Bartles,
Aye.
Councilwoman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Zick.
Aye.
I also did a brief resolution forming a bicentennial committee for you. I don't know if you want to work on it or pass it, but I sent it on to you. I got some input from our supervisor. And it's kind of basic, but I don't know if you had a chance to review it.
Did you get a copy of that?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Pass it tonight?
Yeah, if
Yes.
it's a new bit, do you want to do it now or you just want to do it where you have it?
Go ahead, you might as well do it now since you have it.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion on this resolution?
Make a motion, we accept that resolution.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So basically, you're creating a 9-member bicentennial commission. You'll have to appoint the 9 members from a spectrum of the community. And I'm assuming that committee will be working with you in an advisory capacity to schedule events and celebrations for the bicentennial, which is, I guess, April of next year.
That is correct.
That's,
You want a roll call on that?
No, that's not.
Okay.
So should we tell people to start writing their letters and maybe we'll try to select the committee by April? Give them 2 months to write letters in or?
I spoke to 9 partners already. An individual from that. This is just an advisory board is the way I wanted to do it. That would basically advise us, but those 9 members, you can have a bigger committee off of that gives their input and everything, but we had to kind of limit it to, so we don't have 15 million people stepping up. So.
The only other thing I don't quite have for you is that I did get, I advised you last time, input back from the Public Service Commission on our Cablevision contract. So I'll be reviewing, I'm actually doing 3 for 3 different municipalities now. So I'll chew into their recommendations, and by the next meeting, I should have some input and advice to you on how we want to amend that contract, and then we'll have to meet with the representatives.
They wanted to do a public hearing by Zoom next meeting. Do you want to put it out to the following month?
Let's put it out to the following.
All right.
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
Let's get the input by next meeting, and then we can schedule for the public hearing.
Okay, so we'll schedule it for May then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll advise them. Anything else, Warren?
That's it. I don't know if you've had a chance to send well, why don't we wait till you get my input, and then we'll send it on to the school district for their comments to do that at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Department reports, highway.
I'm very happy to report that the Hicksville project is complete.
Oh, my God.
I did this in less than 2 weeks, which I'm very surprised.
Oh my God.
Everybody's just as happy.
If only the email was that.
I did. They're great.
The road is now reopened to through traffic. I did go out and inspect the project today. I did send photos along to you. If you
Yeah,
have a chance
I
to look
saw
at
it.
it in person, go look at it. I'm very pleased with the outcome. I can now sleep easy this spring knowing that
Great.
that road is stable. We have started our spring cleanup efforts. We are sweeping the roads. I'm sure a lot of people have seen our new loader and our new broom out there. It's doing a fantastic job. It has cut down tremendously on the time that we spend doing this task. Our contractor will be coming in April 5th and 6th, weather permitting, of course, to pick up the sand that we've set left at the road edge throughout the center of town only. So our more rural developments or community, we actually kick that sand off into the shoulder, which we then pick up later. But in the center of town, we will be coming through, or the contractor will, April 5th and 6th. The order board for our new truck purchase has been delayed, which I sort of anticipated. They're anticipating for it to be open the first week of April. I did submit our letter of intent so that as soon as it opens, they can put our order in. And then one other piece of information to report to you is that I have received a letter of resignation from one of my HMEOs, and I'm presently advertising for the job opening. I would like to ask for permission to go into executive session to discuss something with you. That's all I have. I don't have anything for me.
We got a request from about the cemetery in Bethel. And there's some trees that they,
But
Is it-
he's gonna look at it first and he's probably
Okay.
gonna take care of it. I spoke to him yesterday.
okay, all right, so there, if there's, whatever.
Yep.
Thank you.
Building inspector.
My report for February, been a pretty busy month for February. 7 building permits, that brings the total to 11 this year. No new homes yet, but there's like 3 or 4 in the pipeline, almost ready to go. 7 COs been issued, 3 CO searches, and 13 site inspections for the month. The 11 for the total for the year is highest we've been in 10 years.
I see that.
It's busy.
Busy.
Police department.
We had 10 hours of work, 151 of patrol, 17 of admin, 9 of investigation, 13.5 details, 36.5 of vehicle and other, 23 complaints, 31 traffic warnings, 22 UTTs issued, and 1 arrest. We had 28 shifts scheduled, and we actually ended up with 37. I attended the Dutchess County Association of Chiefs of Police meeting, and I also attended press conference on bail reform at Dutchess County Sheriff's Office.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Water engineer.
Water production flows were down to 50,000 gallons per day, which is really nice. It's been one of the lower months that we've had. So that's after a small leak was fixed on a service line on Lake. And so far this month, it's still been continuous at that 50,000. So that was very encouraging. Knock on wood. 6 meter heads were replaced over the past month. The use of those door hangers that we had prepared, that Debbie prepared for me, has really worked out really well. People have been very responsive that within 7 days, they've been reaching out to us and letting us know, and we've been able to schedule appointments. So I was glad that the town board allowed that to take place, and those were very helpful. New services. So we conducted a meeting with Stissing Farm representatives regarding the water service application process. So again, as you may recognize, they're starting to build those homes up on top of the hill and down on the bottom as well. So they're currently working on 6 at the very top. And they anticipate within the next 3 months that those will be ready for rough plumbing and so forth. So we do have an application process. The applicant is responsible for submitting an application with the 911 address as well as a fee for the meter, because the applicant or the property owner has to pay for that meter, which we supply. And then we go back and do an inspection as well. So we will arrange all of that with them, as well as inspection of the service lines going into the building. So I actually conducted one of those this past week as well. So that seems to be going smoothly as far as our process. Utility markouts, 2 utility markouts over the past month. One water service was turned on Lake Road for a person that came back from winter vacation. Both of these chlorinator pumps were completely rebuilt along with the feed lines and fittings. And the first quarter meter readings for 2022 will be done at the end of the month and then sent out with the billing. What we plan on doing regarding the local law is we'll send a notice out with this most recent billing that's going to be going out, making the owners and tenants aware of the change in process, and then implement that on the next billing cycle, just so we don't catch anybody else by surprise or anything of that.
So currently, the tenant and the owner get the bill.
That is
In the
correct.
future, will it only be to the owner?
That is correct.
Thank you.
But we want to make sure that we give them a little leeway and heads up before we actually have it. Water related, but also engineering related. So CPL had put together updated construction costs for water line projects, which would be Route 82, looking at North Main as well, and then some other small subsections for consideration. So they've submitted those. I'm going to be taking a look at those, getting together with the town accountant to see what might be available in the capital account for that project, and then take a look at bonding, and then get together with the town supervisor, and then present something to the town board at the April meeting for consideration.
That it? Okay, Recreation Department.
On April 9th, we're having our field cleanup day, so anyone who is interested in that, coming and help making our ball fields look nice and tidy. April 9th is the date. We're gonna start at around 10 a.m. and tune in via Facebook on our Pine Plains Recreation Facebook in order to get any
That's
updated
fine.
times
I don't
or
need either one.
delays. April 30th will be our opening day, and all the registration information for our program is also available on Facebook, online. All the links you need are there. I'm going to be asking the board if I can purchase, it's in my budget, 2,500 for about 24 tons of dirt, which is what we typically get when we redo the ball fields. And I have to double check, but the grant that Jen Blackburn had written and we got may actually be able to offset that. So I'm just letting you know that I'll be needing to make an order of dirt so we can make our fields nice and do that every year.
I make a motion, if we need a motion that we spend the money on the dirt.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else?
No, unless you guys have anything for me.
I did not see an animal control report. Did you?
There was one.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, we just said that we got it.
Everybody's got it?
Yeah,
Looks good to me.
was not busy.
Old business, approval of the committee members for beautification. No,
Well, we need one more, right?
no. Go with those that are there.
All right, so we have Carrie Hannon, Vicky Sirocco, Carl Baden, Thayer Durrell, Jeannie Valentine Chase, and Susan
Ouellette.
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 You're making that motion?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the MVP health insurance for 2022. There was no increases, no changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need an approval to proclaim May as Mental Health Awareness Month from the NAMI for the town of Pine Plains.
And that includes putting, or involves putting white banners around certain poles in the town that indicate what they are and some contact information.
That is correct.
And I move that we approve that.
I'll
Can I get a
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the second one, 1 second, I had it right here. To make April Parkinson's Awareness Month. And they will be doing the same thing.
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get approval for which you've received the 2 pay increases for the 2 hourly employees for the town?
I would move that we authorize those additional payments.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. motion for an executive session for personnel matters. We will not be making any decisions. Oh, wait a minute. That is correct. We need a motion to accept the contract for the
USDA wildlife to come back in and continue the work with the geese, which means that he's gonna start relatively soon with coming in and the nests, and then we'll do another roundup again, like we did last year. He said that it's a few-year process because some of the geese that go, they come back after a little while. They're not migratory geese per se, like they are residential geese now, according to him.
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we go to executive session, I just want to report from the library meeting, a couple of issues. They're needing to know a time frame for the replacement of the temporary propane tanks, because that involves the signage that they need to replace at the library. So they want some help with that. And then they would like us to know that they're having difficulty with parking because there's pretty much inadequate parking back there and access issues. They're concerned about access, if there should be, people need to get in or out. That has become something of a problem, and they wanted to bring it to our attention. And then they also, of course, are interested, which we have been trying to do, to get the crosswalk across the Route 82 there. And we keep trying to do that, and it would be great if we could get that to happen. Akira, was there anything else?
We decided to move forward with the Willow Roots.
That's right.
Food pantry.
Yes.
And that is gonna go just to the right of the back main entrance, just to the right there. I think Alexis already spoke to you, Brian, about the wheelchair access, about trying to get that.
Yes.
Fixed.
Hudson River or Hudson Doors and Hardware. Gonna have them come up because it's gonna have to be a complete replacement of the store furniture. So we're gonna need to get 3 estimates in regards to that.
And Sarah, did we need to ask about whether we need to take the sign and redoing the front once we get the gas tanks out? Do we need to get an estimate to redo that, or can we just?
Yes,
Who is the free go?
depending on the dollar amount.
What's the threshold?
500.
No,
Or anything.
our procurement, I believe, is 5,000.
Yeah, I think it's 5,000.
Oh, is it?
It's
Yeah,
not
I think
500.
our procurement's 5,000.
And then I also wanted to just remind us that we need to vote on Ethan.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Should we do that?
Yep. Do that right now before we go into executive
Okay,
session.
I move that we appoint Ethan Demaria to the library board.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead with your motion. Executive session.
Oh, can we go to executive session for personnel issues?
We will not be doing any business when we get out.
No business when we get out.
So-
Wait, I need a motion, so I need a second.
I make a motion that we come out of executive.
Wait, I need a second for the first one.
Oh,
Stop,
Bobby did, Bobby
stop.
did.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Then
I'll
the,
make a motion to come out of executive session.
okay. Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor? I move that we adjourn.
I'll
Okay.
second.
All in favor?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
don't need me for executive session.
If Heather, I don't think Heather
No.
does.
No.
No, we're done with it.
That's amazing. That's just absolutely shocking. It's like, whoa.
We're doing it out here.
No. I'm gonna phone.
Oh.